everyone, I'm Steve Horseman with Springfield Armory. What I want to show you today is how to disassemble, clean, and reassemble the XD-M Elite. So what I want to do is, the first thing I'm going to do anytime I pick up a firearm is I want to make sure that the gun is completely empty of ammunition. Have an empty magazine. I'm going to lock the slide to the rear. One of the things that people struggle with in the beginning is the XD series of guns, you have to depress the grip safety in order to get the slide to the rear. From there, I'm going to physically and visually check to make sure there's no ammunition and no magazine in the gun. Once I'm satisfied, as I'm with the XD series, you have to lock the slide to the rear to disassemble it. So from here, I'm going to just take my thumb and I'm going to rotate the disassembly lever clockwise until it's in that 12 o'clock position. Okay, so from there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to the slide and I'm going to depress the slide stop right here. Okay, and I'm going to let the slide go forward. And then I'm just going to pull the slide off just like that. Okay, no reason to pull the trigger for any reason. Okay, I can separate the frame from the slide assembly. From here, the next thing I want to do is I want to take out the recoil spring assembly. The recoil spring assembly is captured. So essentially all you have to do is just pull back a little bit on the rear part of that recoil spring assembly, pull it out, and it's good to go. You can set it aside. It's gonna stay like that. Do not disassemble that or even attempt to disassemble that any further than that. From there, you'll notice that the barrel moved. Okay, I'll set my slide down on a flat surface on my bench, and I'll just lift up on the locking lugs of the barrel and pull the barrel out. The gun is completely disassembled. To clean the gun, pick up any part that you want first. If I take the recoil spring assembly, I'll wipe off with a rag or even a paper towel. Just wipe it off, set it aside, you're done. With the barrel, what I like to do is I'll take my rag or my paper towel, wipe off any exterior dirt, oil, grease from there. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a cleaning rod, and on this one, I have a nylon brush. Nylon works okay, but what I do prefer is a bronze brush. Do not use stainless steel brushes on any of our guns, okay? And I'll take the brush and I'll run it through the barrel 4, 5, 6 times, okay, to loosen up any fouling that's inside the barrel, okay? Once I'm done with that, there's 2 types. There is a jag or I call a patch puller, okay? In this case, I have a patch puller. They work fine. Some people prefer the jags. I actually like those a lot because they make a nice tight seal inside the barrel because they're caliber specific. After I've already brushed it first, I'll take my patch and I'll put a little bit of solvent on the patch, okay? So that will attract any loosened debris. Okay, and in this particular solvent that I'm using is kind of a cleaner lubricant and a preservative, okay? Put a little bit on my patch and I'll run that patch through the barrel. Same thing, 4, 5, 6 times. And you'll already notice that there's some darkening of the patch. Okay, once I'm satisfied that I've got most of it out, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a dry clean patch, put it on my patch puller, and I'll run that through. Same thing, 4, 5, 6 times. And you'll notice this one's pretty clean already. There's a little bit on there. From there, I'm basically done with the barrel. And what I may do is I'll check to make sure the feed ramp doesn't have any debris on it. If I do, I'll take another patch. And if there's a lot of buildup on it, I can take my little M16 brush. For those of you guys who are in the military, you remember these. And I'll loosen up any fouling that's on the back part of the barrel in the chamber area. Okay. Once I've done that, if there's any more debris, I can use a patch. One of the things that I do like to use is a cotton swab Q-tip to wipe off any excess debris that got loosened up with the brush. Okay. From there, my barrel's basically done. Okay. I'll set that aside. And I pick up the frame or the slide, whichever. Okay, in this case, the slide is I'll look for any kind of debris that's inside the slide area. Okay, if you need to, you can use your brush to loosen up anything. Okay, on the breech face, you will get some fouling on the breech face. So take your brush with the breech face facing down, brush it off, loosen up any of that fouling because you will get some fouling on there after some shooting. Check to make sure, if you need to, take the small end. This is why I like the M16 brush. And get underneath the extractor groove, okay? And again, from there, Q-tips are always really handy. You can clean that off, all right? Your loaded chamber indicator right here is going to slide up and down. Make sure that does move freely, okay? Clean off anything. Now, you've loosened some of the debris up and the fouling up, so I'll take a Q-tip or a rag or a patch, and I'll just get as much of that fouling out of the inside of the slide as possible, okay? Now, the slide rails on the XD series guns are pretty big. So I can use a Q-tip to clean out those slide rails, okay? Or what I'll do is I'll use the small end of my M16 brush, lay the slide on its side, grab a patch, and I'll put the patch around the small part of the brush, and I'll use that little groove of the brush to move the patch back and forth in that slide rail, okay, just like that. I'll do both sides, and that usually gets most of that fouling out, and this is exactly how I do it, guys, okay? And from there, I'll even take the brush with the patch on it, and I'll clean out the hood, this groove area inside the slide. And just what you're looking for, so you want to get all the fouling that you can see out of there, okay? Most of the time, you're not going to get all of it, but you'll get most of it. Once you're satisfied that you've got all the grime and grit out of the slide, you can set that aside. Let's get after the frame. Now, one of the things you need to be careful with on the XD or the XD-M series is there's some springs back here. They're pretty robust, but you don't want to have anything catch on them and pull out or bend them. But they're usually pretty robust and you should be fine, but just pay attention to that, okay? Now, if you've been shooting the gun a lot and you haven't cleaned it in a while, you might have to use your toothbrush or your M16 brush to get some of that fouling out of the grooves. You need to push that disassembly notch down, you can, okay? Loosen up some of that fouling and you're set. You'll also notice down into the mag well sometimes when you've shot it a bunch, there'll be some powder residue down in there. Again, same thing. I just grab patches and Q-tips and I just wipe off any loosened grit and grime that I can possibly find, okay? And the same thing holds true, guys, with this little M16 brush and a patch. What's cool is you can just take and clean out those rails pretty easily with that small end of that M16 brush, just like that. And repeat that on the other side, okay? And you're usually pretty good to go. Now, Q-tips are great for, getting into these small cracks and crevices to get any loosened dirt, fouling, anything like that out of there. Just be careful when you're working around these springs back there because you don't want to have a big chunk of the Q-tip come off and you leave it in there. So if that does happen, just inspect it to make sure that the part of the Q-tip is not stuck inside the mechanism. So from here, with the frame, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bead of oil on this rail right there and the rail right there. I don't need to put any on the back because the back's polymer, okay? Sometimes I'll put a little drop of oil where those springs sit on that pin, okay? And I'll put a little drop of oil right there on the locking block, where the barrel moves back and forth on the locking block when it's functioning, okay? So the frame now is lubricated. I'll take the slide and I'll put a bead of oil halfway down the rail from the back towards about the middle part of it. And that's about it that's all I put on the frame rail. I'll also put a couple drops inside there where the barrel actually rubs on the inside of the slide, okay? The barrel. What I'll do for this is I'll put a little bit of oil up here where it actually contacts the inside of the slide, which makes the barrel lock into place when it's locked into the battery, okay? That's about it. That's all I do. From there, I slide the barrel in with the muzzle first, okay, just like this, okay, and the barrel's going to lock and slide back down into its notch into the slide, okay. From there, I'll put, if I need to, it looks like this one's got a little bit of lube on it, but if you want to lubricate your spring, just put a little bead, run it all the way down, and that's plenty. That's all you need, okay. When you go to put that back together, you'll notice that there's like a little half moon cutout where you want this back part of the recoil spring assembly to lock into. Now, what you need to remember with the XD-M or the XD-M Elite, this is a captured recoil spring guide rod assembly. You want the bigger diameter spring going towards the muzzle of the gun. So you want it going towards the front of the pistol, okay? I'll slide that into its notch into the slide. I'll push this in and down ever so slightly, okay? And it locks into place. You'll see I pushed it down into that little half moon cutout, and you've got the slide, barrel, and recoil spring assembly all back together. So from there, what I need to do is grab my frame, match up the slide rails to the frame rails, slide it on ever so slightly. If this happens to be down, that's okay. You don't have to turn it up unless you want to, because you'll watch, when I pull the slide all the way to rear, it pops up anyway, okay? So once I get the slide on and I pull it to the rear, I want to lock it back with the slide stop right there. Then I will take my disassembly lever and I'll rotate it back into that 9 o'clock position, okay? Just like that, turning it counterclockwise till it locks into place. And then from there, I have reassembled the XD-M Elite. So there you go. We just field stripped cleaned, lubricated, and assembled an XD-M Elite pistol. To find out more information about field stripping and cleaning, take a look at your owner's manual, but you can also find out more information at springfield-armory.com.